Christian Bottom. I'm a student at Henderson County High School. I am 19 and I have cerebral palsy. My disability is tightness of the legs or muscles. I have a mild case. There's more severe ones. Mine's just from waist down, and I was diagnosed when I was 6 months old. My mom realized I wasn't doing stuff a normal 6-month-old should be doing. I wasn't holding my head up very well, stuff like that. So they sent me to the doctor, and they kept on. The doctor kept pushing it back. And finally, my parents pressed them enough, and they found out I was diagnosed with CP. It was hard for them, particularly my mom, because they had to explain it to my older brother and my older sister, and had explained to them how they're supposed to help me as the little brother. And with my mom's really just, she overlooks everything, so it affected her a little bit, but she just kept on moving forward. My dad, he kind of the same way. It affected him kind of different. He was kind of more cautious about what I did at first, but then as I grew older, it kind of wore off on me. The steps the doctor took was, he immediately said, well, we got to get him into therapy. And I took physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy.
What time in your life did you realize that you were different from your peers?
I would say around 5-6 years of age, because I didn't start walking until I was 5 years old. And you know, when you're a kid, you don't really pay attention to everything, but then I had a walker. And the walker, I mean, everybody notices it, and that's when I started noticing it. I started noticing my parents getting out of the car everywhere we went. I realized my brother didn't have one, my mom didn't have one. None of my family had one, and I was kind of confused. But I was like, well, I'm still a kid. I'm still going to do whatever every kid does, so that's the way I looked at it. It didn't. It kind of creeped me out. I kind of creeped myself out. I was like, you know, why am I using this? But I didn't really understand. I only knew that I was different. I didn't really understand why. It was kind of hard. There was some stuff. For example, when I was a child and we'd go play on the playground, I could do like certain things. Really, when I was younger, it was easier for me to adjust than it was when I got older, because I had people to guide me, to tell me this is what I need to do. They didn't really tell me I needed to do it, but they kind of just I did it because I was a kid. I had no other choice but to follow what they said. So when I went to therapy and went to, you know, school and everything with the walker, it was a normal day for me. I didn't think it was any different. I just had to get through it and see the day through. So.
What kind of hobbies did you have as a child?
I'd say probably wrestling and sports was my biggest one.
Did you have anybody that you looked up to?
As a child, I would say my older brother played a big part. Because at the time when I was playing sports and doing all this, my dad was working a lot. My mom was always there. My mom has always been there. But when my dad started working thirds and, you know, doing everything, I had nobody to talk to. My brother was always there, so I always looked up to him. Now,
what did you think that you wanted to be when you grew up?
At first, it was, you know, I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm going to go out for the basketball team and I'm going to be an NBA star one day. And she was like, okay. But when I grew older and it, you know, kind of hit me, it kind of hit me around 8th grade year, around that realm, that it's not impossible, but it's very, very highly, you know, doubtable that I can achieve that goal. So I kind of went from that, and then I went from that to being, I wanted to be an actor.
When you were little and as you grew up, describe some of your operations and surgeries that you had.
Well, I think I would say from 6 years old all the way up till I was 9 years old, I had Botox injections. What it was is they would go in there, they would put me to sleep, give me shots in my legs to relax my muscles. That worked up to, like I said, until I was 9 years old. And then they did a heel cord lengthening, which is where they go into your Achilles heel, they cut it, and add, it's kind of like a rubber band at the end of your heel, and it makes your feet flatter. And that was my first actual technical surgery because they cut into me.
What other surgeries did you have?
My most recent one, my biggest one was the spine surgery. I was in 8th grade. I had it when I was 14 years old. That was probably the most severe one. What they did is they put a scope in my spine, on the lower part, and they went through every single nerve, and they zapped it with a, I think it was a laser, I believe, or it was something like that. And if my legs responded to a certain way, it was a good, it was a good nerve. And if they didn't respond, they would cut it out. So they would cut out the nerves that my disability, the nerves that had my disability in it.
Like a serious surgery, or?
It was for my particular age group, because they usually do it around 6 or 7 year olds, because the younger you are, the easier it is to tackle. He said there's a possibility that you could be paralyzed, so that was the biggest one. I couldn't have kids possibly, or I could have problems just throughout life. Just, you know, I might have back pain here and there, or, you know, simple things. But probably the biggest one was probably that I could possibly be paralyzed. That was probably the biggest one.
How did that operation affect your family?
It brought us all together. My brother actually moved in with my mom to help take care of me.
Through that recovery, you learned a lot about your family, but what did you learn about yourself?
I would say the recovery is the hardest part. Through that time, I was learning, like I said, I was only 14 years old. When you're a 14-year-old, learning how to walk again, it's probably the hardest thing that I've went through. And the fact that I couldn't do it at the leisure of my own home. I was up in Louisville for two straight weeks. I was in ICU for 2 days, and those were the longest 2 days I've ever went through. I couldn't move. They had to move myself home. My mom had to feed me those two days. It was really humbling to me, because my sister had a friend up there, Shelby Heiser, and we would go to each other's therapies, encourage each other, and, you know, tell each other to keep moving forward. So I had him up there, so it wasn't really bad. But I mean, it was kind of hard, you know, when it's late at night and you're just thinking, you're like, you know, how am I supposed to get through this? But I got through it. So
how was it when you came back to middle school after your surgery?
Everybody was keeping tabs on me that I wasn't aware of. My math teacher kept tabs on me constantly and told all my friends where I was at, what I was doing, or how I was doing. I remember the first day I came back, I was extremely fatigued. I slept through all the periods, and just from willing myself in a wheelchair or getting pushed in a wheelchair to one class to another, it wore me out. On top of that, you know, everybody being around you all at once when you come back from being gone for 3 months, it's kind of hard to adjust to because you're not around all your friends. So that was very hard for me, but, you know, my friends are very understanding.
Describe starting high school and how changing from middle school to high school affected you.
It was really big. You know, you're a new kid coming to a new school. Luckily, my sister had a lot of friends. She was a senior when I was a freshman, and she always looked over me. It was really difficult for me because you automatically feel intimidated. And when I was a freshman in high school, my mom took me to the doctor and they diagnosed me with anxiety real bad. Anxiety can affect you in many different ways. It can be paranoia, it can be depression, anger. Mine was kind of the depression and paranoia. I always thought people were looking at me constantly, just looking at my legs, and it scared me. So we went from medicine to medicine. Said I could get through this by myself. I don't need no medicine. It was very, very, very hard for me, but I adjusted perfectly fine. One
of the biggest milestones in a teenager's life is when they get their driver's license.
Yeah.
Describe that situation when you got your driver's license and how you ended up being able to drive?
I got my driver's license when I was 18 years old. Now, the time leading up to that was very, very hard for me because all my friends had cars, and I knew, I knew why I couldn't have a vehicle yet and I couldn't drive. So they put me in hand control classes where I would drive twice a week with this lady. She would teach me how to use them. And after I finished that, I could go take my license. Well, stuff kept on coming up, weather and whatnot. I was getting very impatient. And I remember, I worked my butt off, saved up money, got, because I had to get a car that was fit for the hand controls. So, I worked my butt off, at my job, finally saved up enough for the car. And I went to go buy the car. And then they waited 2 months to put the hand controls in. And that was probably the worst part, because you have something sitting in your driveway that you can't drive and you can just look at. So I was getting very, very impatient. So after 2 months, they put them in there. I went to go take my driver's license. I finished up my permanent hours, actually. I went to go take my driver's license, and I got it. And my brother even said, he said he didn't picture me having a license at the time I do now. So that was pretty cool for him to hear, to say that I've came a long way.
Who would you say helped you the most through your life, and how did they help you?
I would have to say, by far, everybody's helped me, my family, but I would have to say my mom. She's a strong woman. She's been through everything with me. Like I said, she's fed me when I was in the hospital. I couldn't move. She's get everything figured out. She's been, my right hand man or woman, whatever you want to say, ever since I was younger. And when you're young and stuff like that's going on, and your dad's in the picture, that's very hard for a kid to grasp. But my mom, she handled it just like any single mom would, and she guarded me from the bad stuff. And she just said, you're gonna get to where you want to go in life, and you're gonna keep on pushing forward. You're gonna go to college and do the career you want to do. She was very, very motivational, and I would probably say I'm very blessed to have a mother like her in my life.
As a 19-year-old high school senior, what are your next steps for the future?
I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna get my basics here at the Henderson County Community College, and then I'm gonna transfer to either Eastern Kentucky University or Spalding University, and I'm gonna go for business and marketing.
Say anything to kids with your disability, what would it be?
I would say, number one thing, do not let anybody treat you different. You're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have good days, but the only thing you can do is keep on moving forward, and do not look back, and do not let people tell you you can't do something. And whatever you set to achieve, if people around you telling you it's a pipe dream, you're not gonna make it, you might not want to do that in 2 years. But all you can do is set your goals and achieve them as you go on in life. And that's the main thing that I've always went by. So that's probably what I'll tell them. Cautious about what I did at first, but then as I grew older, it kind of wore off on me. The steps the doctor took was he immediately